Welcome back to WiseHeart's Garden. Welcome back. I'm trying to get something working here. So just be patient with me. Thank you. So happy Venus Day, WiseHearts, and welcome back to WiseHeart's Garden, a place where together we plant seeds of curiosity, compassion, courage, and community, tending our lives one season and one practice at a time. So if you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe. Um, so I was in the shower, and I get lots of ideas in the shower. I don't know about you. And something came to me about the previous Compost Bowl videos, especially the last one where I was talking about leaving myself and asking the question to you about leaving yourself. And so what came up for me was that some people may not understand what I'm talking about as far as leaving yourself. And so I thought that I would come back to that. I always get hot when I get on here. I know my body's communicating something to me. I just don't know exactly what it is yet. So, yeah, I'm gonna fan because I'm a little hot. And so I just wanted to talk a little bit today about the ways that I have left myself and where I have learned to leave myself when being with myself, when staying with myself feels too uncomfortable, too painful, too lonely, too overwhelming, or too uncertain. And I think in all of these instances, I have found different ways to leave myself. And so I just wanted to share a few just to share my own experience and for you to see if you can relate to any of these. And so bear with me. I've got some notes because sometimes I get so excited that it's very easy for me to just start talking and get off topic. So I have numbing, things I have personally done, using alcohol, and I have drugs. For a time, I was on legal drug, pharmaceutical drugs, but that was to numb. And at the time, and this is no judgment on anybody. Again, this is my personal experience. At that time, I was scared of my body. I was scared to feel what I was feeling. I was not ready to acknowledge all the ways that I had suppressed my emotions, that I had not wanted to deal with them, to look at them, to feel them because of my conditioning. I thought it was too much, and I thought that I was not capable of being with myself. So, again, back to numbing, alcohol, drugs. It could be now compulsive scrolling. Like that takes you away from your life and what you're doing. That takes up time, that takes up your energy. It could be watching television to get away from feeling. It could be gaming. It could be pornography, or any other behaviors that may help us temporarily to move away from what we're feeling. Another one for me is eating for emotional regulation. And for me, at times it may be sweets, it may be bread, um, or what we deem as pleasurable foods, but it could also just be using food to soothe, to distract, to hit those reward centers in the brain for a dopamine hit, to feel comfort. You think about how some foods are labeled as comfort foods. but just using food as a way of avoiding feeling whatever may be present with you. And so that's something that I have done, definitely abandoned myself. And it's interesting to look at these types of patterns. Another way that I have left myself is performing or masking. I know lots of times I will invite people to leave the mask that they wear in the world, leave them somewhere else when we are in community together. And I just think about, being conditioned with changing yourself to be in different spaces. I don't know about you, but I grew up where code switching was a thing, where you spoke one way with your family, your friends, but then if you were in a different environment, then you would speak differently. And I know that I had people that would say I was trying to be this or I was trying to be that because of the way that I was speaking. And now I have a totally different perspective on that. I think that my ancestors and the people that cared for me wanted me to be safe in spaces where they may not be there with me. And so they had learned themselves in order to be safe in different spaces, you had to speak a certain way. And so I think that's part of masking. But I also think that saying you're okay when you're not okay is another way of masking, um, hiding parts of ourselves so that we won't appear to be too much, too complicated, too sensitive, which is one that, I have heard, or simply not what someone else wants. And this one really gets a lot of my time and attention because I think about um, the ways that we are performative or have been. I have been, and how I really choose to show up authentically now, which has been work for me. Another way of leaving yourself might be overgiving. This is another thing that I personally have done where I have taken care of what everybody else wants, been really sensitive to other people's needs, listen for what they need, and then saying yes when I don't feel like I really have the capacity, the energy to do whatever it is. But my body might have been saying no, but my mouth was still saying yes because I wanted to be accepted and loved. And so this is one of the ways that I would leave myself. Um, Other ways have been relationships that require self abandonment, staying repeatedly where I felt unseen, unheard, unsafe, disrespected, and disconnected from myself. So, just another way. I also think about in this instance, um, and I'm again only speaking for myself, where relationships that may have been intimate relationships where I wasn't honest about maybe wanting to be intimate. And um, and so again, that goes back to being performative, masking, um, but I also have it down under my relationships. And so um, self Abandonment. Okay, I'm thinking about intimate relationships. And while it's not necessarily self abandonment, but sometimes we may use sexual intimacy to obtain closeness, reassurance, validation, belonging, um, and also possibly relief from loneliness. And it's not what we really want, but it's another way of leaving yourself. And, you know, I've just been thinking a lot about all of these. And so, one way to come back and check in with yourself and to see if this is a way of leaving, a way of self abandonment is simply asking, am I choosing this because it is truly aligned with me, in this moment? Or is it because I'm afraid of what I will feel if I don't? And I wasn't checking in with myself. I was making lots of impulsive, and that sounds like a judgment, right? Decisions because I wasn't at a place that I had capacity to be with my emotions, to even identify my emotions. And I know in the beginning of these videos, I talked a lot about the feelings wheel because for a very long time, I was used to using faux feelings words that really did not express the depth or accurately identify what I was feeling. And so I have gotten better at that and still have a ways to go. Um, but I also know that, this still comes up for me. These things still come up. And so back to ways that you could leave yourself. It could be overspending or compulsive spending, buying something to create excitement. Again, hitting those pleasure centers in your brain, soothing disappointment by spending money, buying something to feel worthy, to escape boredom, or just temporarily change how you feel. And I have done this. Definitely gone shopping and left myself for, to feel worthy, to soothe disappointment. And that has not been a good choice for me. And so shopping itself is not necessarily problematic, but when you check in with what role is it playing, and is it part of you leaving yourself? Again, coming back to, am I choosing this because it is truly aligned with me in this moment, or because I'm afraid of what I will feel if I don't? Like, what am I feeling? And then I have down being impulsive because for me, it feels like, at times I made decisions impulsively and did not give myself a break or a pause to fully think through, to count the cost, to see what I may lose as a result of doing a certain thing, and to check in with myself, check in with my body, and see how I'm feeling. What emotions are there? So, making decisions before giving ourselves space to notice what we're actually feeling, for me, has not served me well. And so, um, people pleasing is another way that I have left myself. And now I don't necessarily look at it as people pleasing. Um, I look at it more as masking because I'm not being truthful, haven't been truthful about a particular thing. And so I think those two could kind of go hand in hand. I don't think that people are necessarily pleased. they may be getting what it is that they want. But I just think, yeah, I heard somebody talking about that recently, and I was definitely in agreement with what I was hearing. Another way of leaving yourself is staying busy. Oh my goodness. I can't say that I do this as much, but I am connected to and have observed people that really do this, that um, their whole thing is about being productive and not about just being. And for me, sometimes I can't say all the time that feels like a trauma response. And so, to try to fill every available space and stillness with doing something like not getting your proper rest, not getting nourished, not taking care of yourself, I think that's something that a lot of people have been conditioned with. Um, and you may not even realize it, until it comes up. And I know that it is something that I have done, but not to the extent that I have observed it in my own life. And then also thinking about feelings, intellectualizing, thinking about our emotions rather than actually experiencing them. I've definitely done that, especially when I began identifying what I was feeling. Because I don't think I was still ready to like sit in the mm, messiness, the complexity, the pain, the sadness. Um, because somewhere there was some feeling that if I feel this way, I'm going to stay there. And so I would talk about it all day. But now, like, I'm really working to notice what it is that I'm feeling, to allow myself to feel it, to give myself an opportunity to just slow down enough to breathe. Again, coming back to noticing and just being there. And then to listen to whatever wisdom, knowledge, whatever message is coming forth. And so I still have more ways, right? I still have ways of leaving ourselves and that I have left myself, perfectionism, that the thought was if I can't get it done right, then I won't have to feel inadequate or incapable. And so I wouldn't do a thing, then I would go on to the next thing because I'd be like, well, if I can't get this done perfectly, I remember that when I first started doing videos, like there were certain things I wouldn't want you to see. And so I can see my growth in that area, and I'm so proud of myself. Another way of leaving ourselves is self-criticism. Sometimes we leave ourselves because, um, or we do it uh, before somebody else has an opportunity to reject us or to leave us. And um, I have done this as well. If I tell myself I'm not good enough to do a thing first, if I don't apply for whatever it is, if I don't shoot my shot, if I don't acknowledge that desire that I have for a certain thing, then maybe somebody else's judgment won't hurt as much, and having to deal with that. And so now I know that's another form of self-abandonment, of leaving myself. And and then another one is leaving ourselves by overriding our own knowing. Times when you have a gut feeling about something and something doesn't feel right, and you talk yourself into doing a certain thing, even though, your body is telling you no, but you say yes anyway. I've done it. And I've left myself that way. And so, yeah, those times where something is telling us no, but we just keep going in spite of it because that's what we have been taught. We may be exhausted and yet we keep going. We may be uncomfortable and we still say yes to whatever it is. We convince ourselves that we're being too much, we're being too dramatic, and we think ourselves instead of like feeling. We're all up here in our head, and we're not listening to our bodies. And so, what's interesting now, as a reflection, is um, not how do I stop doing these things, right? But what is happening just before I leave myself? Um, was there something that happened and then feelings, came up, and then you decide to go and eat something or you decide to go shopping? And for me, I am noticing more and more different situations and patterns associated. So that's been very interesting. Um, yeah, and so I wanted to just share in case someone was interested in hearing more about leaving yourself. I wanted to identify some ways that you can leave yourself and to understand that these ways of leaving yourself are all mm, expressions, like things that we do in order to be okay with not feeling in the moment. And so that's all I wanted to share for today on this Venus day, to invite you into thinking more about ways that you may be leaving yourself, to invite you to give yourself time to be observant, be the observer of yourself. And if you notice any of these behaviors, to just reflect and ask yourself, what would it mean to stay with myself right now, while I feel whatever it is? What would it mean for me to identify exactly what I'm feeling right now? Because I've gotten to the place now that I just say it out loud. I say it to the mirror, I say it in the car. Somebody pulls out in front of me. I had it happen recently. Somebody just pulled out, and there was very little space in between me and that car. And I was like, whew, that was scary. And whew, now y'all need to learn how to drive out here. And I said some other things too, but just to be able to get those things out, as well as there have been lots of people sick around me, lots of illnesses and death. And so I've really been sitting with a lot of um, sadness, a lot of grief, as well as gratitude for the healings that are happening by mind, body, and spirit for different people. Gratitude for the lives that have touched mine that may no longer be here in the physical realm. And so life is just inviting me to be with all of it. And I am building my capacity to be with it by all of the things that I am noticing and the things that I'm releasing in the compost bowl. So again, I just wanted to share some different ways that we leave ourselves for you today. Sending you so much love on this Venus day. And remember, if you're still here, if you haven't liked, shared, or subscribed, please do that. And I will see you next time here in the garden. And I haven't remembered, but yeah, get in your favorite spot with your favorite drink or snack, and join me again here in the garden. All right, take good care. Till next time. See you next time. Love you.